I'm going to kick it to Pete before I kick it to Anthony. It is Mr. Wan'Dale Robinson. Played in
Oh
15
my.
years, 60 receptions, 525 yards receiving, one touchdown. As we know, last year that Giants passing game was anemic at best. My whole bit is here, Pete, is after Malik Neighbors, obviously, it's just an island of misfit toys. If I had to pick a guy, probably be Jalen Hyatt. Um, but I also feel like it's kind of Russian roulette with these guys. Anthony just made a face when I said Jalen Hyatt. I could have said any other receiver on that depth chart, and Anthony might have made the same face potentially. That's just goes to show you what this depth chart's been. But whatever. Like we said, somebody has to produce in this offense. So, what are your thoughts on Wan'Dale Robinson, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, his best ball ADP is 166 right now. So you're getting him close to between rounds 13 and 15 right now. 45% of his games in 2023, he earned 6 targets. He was 4th in the NFL for target separation. So he can separate. He's a good athlete. And this is also coming off of a year removed from the ACL injury last year. Not a year removed. This was the first season with the ACL injury. So the fact that he was separating at 4th most or 4th best in the NFL. And generally they say ACLs take 2 years to really gain that explosiveness back. That's part of the reason why I'm in on him. He's the second receiving option on a team that, outside of Neighbors, I mean, yes, we're talking Singletary, but Singletary is going to be the guy that's a safety valve in the passing offense, but Neighbors is going to get all the focus. And Mike Kafka and this coaching staff, for better or for worse, I mean, this is a very creative coaching staff. They are smart. They're one of the more respected staffs in the league. They just coach a really bad team. I mean, Mike Kafka is a very well respected offensive mind in the NFL. So I think that last year, watching some of their games, they didn't lack creativity. They just lacked playmakers. So they didn't really gain a ton of playmakers outside of Neighbors. They lost Barkley, but no Saquon Barkley. Malik Neighbors is going to draw a lot of attention, and I think Wan'Dale Robinson should benefit from it. I'm not really a huge Jalen Hyatt fan. He was supposed to be a decent prospect. He had some bad injuries during his senior year, which had him fall during the draft, but he just didn't really show me a ton last year. I've seen enough of the flashes with Wan'Dale that I'm willing to kind of take a bite of the apple in the Big Apple and take a chance on him. So I don't mind him at his current price.
Yeah, Anthony, before you go, I was just gonna say we have the guys in our chat are having a good time with your with your missionary Devin Singletary take, and William Stevenson said if Singletary is the boring missionary of RBs, what is Breece Hall? To which I would say that's a little bit of Huck Tua, if I had to say.
All right,
Breece Hall action, take that,
reverse cowgirl. I don't know.
Oh yeah, all right. That's more like Christmas McCaffrey for me. But at that point, we're all just having a great time. But Anthony, what says you as you smile from ear to ear with all the fun talk? What do you say about Wan'Dale Robinson?
Let's try to get serious. Talk about football.
Yeah, let's get it back.
My head back straight. Now
we got it.
I like Wan'Dale Robinson, especially at cost. He's a high floor player, and I think if he can stay healthy going into his second year removed from the injury, he's going to be pretty productive. Now, no tight end. We don't know who the tight end is going to be. Take your shots on Bellinger. You have the rookie coming out of Penn State. Waller's gone. Barkley's gone. Now, with Barkley gone, there's a lot of targets going with him. They're all not going to Devin Singletary, right? He's not going to get all of Barkley's targets. Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot could potentially be one of the biggest beneficiaries of Saquon Barkley. Wan'Dale last year was 11th at wide receiver in terms of slot snaps. 66.9% of the time he lined up in the slot. Now, another thing about Wan'Dale, which is pretty damn deceptive, if you ask me. He had 7 catches over 20 yards. So he's a little bit of a playmaker. And again, he was coming off the injury. Just imagine what he can do this year if Daniel Jones can stay healthy and play a little bit more competent football. And Pete brought up the creativity of Brian Dable and Kafka. This guy also had 9 rushing attempts for 87 yards and a touchdown. So, like, this almost reminds me of a poor man's Jaden Reed.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
Find that
I don't hate that. Yeah. No, I don't hate that actually.
Yeah. Jaden Reed actually was one of the I think I saw a stat today that said he was had one of the most rushing yards outside of Deebo Samuel in the NFL last year. I would assume Wan'Dale's pretty high up there too.
Wan'Dale could be one of those guys, and nobody's paying attention because he plays for the Giants.
Yeah. Well, again, someone's got to produce in his offense. While I prefer Jalen Hyatt, I do have because again these. Well, it's also cost we're talking about here, Anthony. I'm not taking him in the first GD round. I'm taking him late, just rounding it out. I've got some shares of Wan'Dale in best ball too. It's a crapshoot. You're just throwing it again. The New York Football Giants, in terms of their pass catchers, with the exception of Malik Neighbors, obviously, will be throwing it against the wall and seeing if it sticks. That's what it's going to be for the New York Football Giants this year.
I mean, think about this though. Wan'Dale had 45% of his games he had 6 or more targets, and that was, I mean, granted, Tyrod Taylor was one of the better quarterbacks, but for the most part, it was Danny DeVito in there, and he was still garnering targets.
Is that his name, Danny?
Tommy.
I really don't know.
I would have paid good money to see Danny DeVito as a Giants quarterback of Taxi and Always Sunny in Philadelphia fame.
It was fun while he was there. It was a fun ride.
Like, this has got to be, before we end this horrific segment in the New York Giants,
sure.
If you look at their wide receiver depth chart right now, Neighbors, Slayton, Wan'Dale, Hyatt, Allen Robinson, Isaiah McKenzie, Hodgins, Gunner, I can't even say the last name, from New England, Miles Boykin, the converted, I think he's a converted tight end that Baltimore Ravens drafted. I mean, this is terrible.
That's like showing up to a barbecue with all alcohol-free beer. Like, what's going on? This is bad.
How bad is it for A-Rob that he's listed as a 5?
Yeah, the mighty have fallen. I'll always remember you, Alan, for that 1 year with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You torched the league. You and
fantasy Twitter was chasing Allen Robinson every year since, burning everybody in his path.
That's right. That's right. There were no survivors. But yes.
By the way, Jalen Hyatt also he played 403.
With the shit now with the Jalen Hyatt.
No, I'm just saying he played.
Don't make me defend this guy. I don't want to.
Actually,
I'm just saying he played 403. He played 403 passing snaps and he did nothing with that. Like that's where I get upset too. Like he was on the field.
He wasn't bad. I mean,
I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying he had opportunities.
I will say. He's a big play guy. Maybe the issue wasn't Jalen Hyatt and more of it. He was 8th in yards per reception. He had 7 catches over 20 yards and 3 catches over 40 yards. Like, I get that, it wasn't great overall statistically, but he flashed a little bit.
He did, but he was on the field for 15 less snaps than Wan'Dale Robinson, who was coming off an 8 and it wasn't a problem for Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, he was getting targets. I'm not saying he blew up last year, but I mean, I don't know. I just think they were on the field for pretty much the same amount of snaps, and I can't. The only play I remember Jalen Hyatt doing last year was in the preseason game where he lost.
But here's the thing, maybe, and this doesn't, and I'm not discounting Wan'Dale because I like Wan'Dale this year, but maybe Wan'Dale saw more opportunities because the quarterbacks didn't have time. Where Jalen Hyatt, he's a big player. You need to take time. You need to take your 3-5 step drop and let a play develop. They couldn't let plays develop. So maybe, and again, I'm still on Wan'Dale.
No, that's fair.
But maybe Hoff's going somewhere here.
How about that? Well, maybe. I'll tell you, one place I will be going is probably to the bathroom soon because I'm going to throw up on myself if we keep talking about Giants pass catchers. So
we love arguing about mid players that no one gives a shit about.
That's our wheelhouse right there. That's how we roll. All right, so we will stay in the East Coast, but we will. And actually, I shouldn't even say this as if it's a good thing that we're going to stop talking about the Giants because we're now going to talk about the New England Patriots.